Down and out, riddled with doubt, had nowhere to go. Everything's moving so slow, the time's moving too fast. I hope this feeling don't last. Well, I've been away from myself too long. My body is aching from all my wrongs. And now that I know I'm not that strong, I'll keep slipping on to you. I'll keep slipping until my time is through. I'll keep slipping on to you, on to you. Until my time is through, I'll keep slipping on to you, on to you. I was down and out, so riddled with doubt.
I am the devil. I am the Lord Satan from the netherworld, ruler of the damned and eternal king of hell. Even I, The master of deceit can only stomach so much bullshit from the mainstream media and indie grifters. That's why I tune in to Morning Extra with Uncle Warren, because he eliminates my competition, and also because I know I'm gonna see that motherfucker soon.
Deo, Deo.
Baby's got a burger and a shooter and that shake it won't go down. Baby's got a burger and a shooter and that shake it won't go down. Corrosion to her thighs, erosion of her pride. Baby's got a shooter, baby's got corrosion now, corrosion now. Baby's got it.
Greetings and salutations to you all. It is I, Letterman, not Letterman from the olden days of late night talk shows, but Letterman from Electric Company, who'd rip his letter from his Letterman sweater and throw it onto another word and turn it into something else. I'm going to tell y'all something, man. I didn't think this show was going to happen this morning. When it rains, it pours, and it was like, I turned on some of these programs, and I couldn't hear in here in the program that I use, the OBS Studio, but I could hear outside everything. I had to reboot a few times, turn off and turn on some things, and then the rumble and the rock fin I didn't have quite set up, and boy, it was almost time for this. And you know, we may go back to that, hopefully not. Because you know, it is that time of year.
Fuck you, everybody. Good night.
Goddamn right, it's a beautiful day. Hey, we got Gene in the house. What's up, Gene? And Bella's here. Rick's here. What's up, brother? We've got Around the World with D and Friends. Good morning, D. Good to see you. Of course, her nightly show, 9 p.m. Eastern tonight, Around the World, D and Friends. Be sure to check her out. Willie Bragg in the house, talking about his smoking and drinking last night on the show on Braglands. I'd never seen Willie smoke like that. I know he's always smoking, but I didn't know he's literally had like the cancer stick in his mouth. That was pretty cool. I think anybody who smokes is a cool kid. Wink, wink. Lung cancer's up to you, but it looks cool. Chuck's Intergalactic UFO show. I hear a little rumor, whispers in the wind that his first show is going to be sometime at the end of the week. Maybe Friday. Maybe. I like putting my pinky in my mouth because it looks fancy. Game.film showing up. What's up, brother? And I think let's see. I think Miguel was here. He usually does, like, as soon as I post the show, he'll show up with the peace sign. So he was here in spirit today. Maybe he'll show up later. We got a lot, and I do mean a lot of news today. Friday night, yes. Here we go. It's the official landing in a backyard and scaring the fuck out of you near you. Chuck's Intergalactic UFO show. Should be fun. Yeah, so like I said, we got over 30 stories. A lot of it related to what happened yesterday in Israel. We'll get to that shortly. First off, we want a reminder, if you can, please help our friend Chanda, who is battling lung cancer. She has a GoFundMe. If you want to donate to her, it's in the link down below. If you can't afford it, I understand. Times are tough. If you could share out the link, that would be almost as good. Still a good thing to do. So anyway, I'm still a little rattled from this morning about the it was like 8:30, and I was getting just oh, hey, what's up, Lucy? And Prop in the house too. What's up, kids? Never assume just because you have something set up already. This is a little tech tip for all you kids out there. And don't worry, this is probably going to be a 2-hour show. This is going to be a long show today. Never assume shit that you already have set up works. Make sure you test that shit before you go live, because you will get fucked in the ass over it, and not in a good way, not even in the prison way, in a worse way, if you can actually believe that. Sad news. This actually happened in August, but the news came down yesterday. John Amos has passed away, 84 years old. Of course, he got his big start on the Mary Tyler Moore Show as the weatherman, but he became known to everybody as James Evans, the dad on Good Times. Of course, he was in Roots. He was in Die Hard too. He says, "Oh, I'm an asshole. I'm just your kind of asshole." And I thought that was one of the greatest lines ever in a movie. And of course, Coming to America. So R.I.P. King, legend. You will be missed. And it seems like most of my childhood is now passing away, which is always a fun thing whenever you're an old person, such as myself. Before we get to all the stuff going on in Israel, let's get to the domestic stuff first. Of course, we got the East Coast dock workers are officially on strike. Dock workers at East and Gulf Coast ports went on strike yesterday morning, forming picket lines from Massachusetts to Tejas. The International Longshoremen's Association, the ILA, a union that represents 45,000 affected dock workers, didn't accept terms offered by the U.S. Maritime Alliance, the port operators group, and initiated a walkout that began at a little after midnight yesterday. It's the first strike at the 36 East and Gulf Coast ports since 1977, when dock workers won major concessions. The labor dispute centers on the level of pay increase and the degree of automation allowed at the ports. We are prepared to fight as long as necessary to stay out on strike for whatever period of time it takes to get the wages and protections against automation our ILA members deserve, President Harold Daggett said in a statement yesterday. And there's some folks right there. Strikey. Workers picketed at the ports just after the contract expired at midnight, carrying placards with messages such as "Automation hurts families," ILA stands for Job Protection, "No work without a fair contract," "Corporate greed versus workers' rights," ILA demands fairness, and "Fight automation, save jobs." ILA demands job security. Daggett spoke to picketers at a terminal in Elizabeth, New Jersey, saying the strike would go down in history and referencing his participation in the 77 strike. He pointed the finger at USMX's global shipping companies, some of which are based in Europe, saying that they price gouge their customers, echoing an argument the ILA had made in a statement Monday, shortchanged dock workers. So this is from Common Dreams. Common Dreams is going to be a common theme here, I believe, as we go on. A lot of stories from them, and a good source, for independent journalism. I'm fighting a little sinus thing going on, so delicious. One bad thing, though, is that the strikers are still loading weapons onto military ships, and I believe they're still servicing cruise ships. So it's not a total shutdown, but it's better than nothing. Meanwhile, Boeing is still striking, and their workers are still striking. But now they're getting the health care taken away. Boeing revokes health benefits for striking workers. Boeing revoked the company-sponsored health care benefits of about 33,000 striking workers starting yesterday, drawing condemnation from progressives, who said it showed the need for a universal health care system in the United States. One they haven't been fighting for at all, but, you know, it is election season, and universal health care from the progressives is always a good talking point to get your ears perked up, even though most of us know they're all full of shit. The workers, who are mostly in Washington State and are represented by the IAM, International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers, which really should be IAMA, went on strike on September 13th, and the corporation announced on its website that their health care benefits would expire at the end of the day on September 30th. Boeing's greed offers another perfect example of why we need Medicare for all. Head cuck, Senator Bernie Sanders wrote on social media. He loves writing. He'll do a strongly worded letter like nobody's business. Like other wealthy countries, we must guarantee health care to every man, woman, and child as a human right, not a job benefit. Whether you're on strike or not, everyone is entitled to health care. Vote Quimby. I'm sorry, I'm mixing my metaphors. Sarah Nelson, the international president of the Association of Flight Attendants, wrote on social media that health care should not be tied to employment. Also, shame on Boeing, she added. And there's some strikers right there. Many companies have been accused of cutting off healthcare benefits as a strike-breaking tactic. GM revoked healthcare benefits to workers, striking workers in 2019, and Warrior Met, a coal mining company, did so in 2021. John Deere, meanwhile, threatened to follow suit during its 2021 strike. In 2022, House Democrats moved to establish a federal law preventing the maneuver, but the proposed bill didn't pass. Why? Are you shocked? Wait a minute. Oh, I am so shocked. Yeah. So, but, hang on just a second here. Hi, kids. There we go. Starbucks is plugging along with their union efforts. As Starbucks workers win a union at their 500th U.S. shop. Working class allies, including labor groups, celebrated yesterday after Starbucks Workers United announced that employees of the coffee giant had made their Washington State shop the 500th U.S. location to unionize since late 2021. Congrats to Starbucks partners at Old Fairhaven Parkway and 30th in Bellingham, who make history as the 500th location to organize with Starbucks Workers United, the organization said on social media. The post featured a photo of three people holding 500 balloons, not 500 the number of balloons, but the balloons that said 500, and a video of one partner, as company employees are called, saying, "I'm excited to be part of the union. I'm excited to work with all the other stores and sit across from Starbucks at the bargaining table and to hopefully make a better future for all partners and to be just a part of something much bigger," the worker explained. There's the 500 balloons right there and some nice person as well. So, striking. That's what happens, folks. You want to shut shit down. That's what you gotta do. So, you know, it's nice to see that. And some good news out of Georgia regarding one of their archaic abortion bans. Judge strikes down Georgia's 6-week abortion ban in absolutely epic ruling. Reproductive rights defenders cheered Monday's ruling by a Georgia judge striking down the state's 6-week abortion ban as a violation of a woman's right to control what happens to and within her body, a decision that means the medical procedure will be legal up to approximately 22 weeks of pregnancy. Fulton County Judge Robert McBurney exonerated the Life Act, which was signed into law in 2019 by Republican Georgia Governor Brian Kemp, and prohibits abortion care after fetal cardiac activity can be detected. The so-called fetal heartbeat law, a medically misleading term, is applicable before many people even know they're pregnant. Other states, including Kentucky, Mississippi, and Ohio, passed similar heartbeat laws in anticipation of the U.S. Supreme Court's reversal of Roe v. Wade, which occurred in 2022 when the tribunal's right-wing supermajority issued its Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization decision. Women are not some piece of collectively owned community property, the disposition of which is decided by majority vote. McBurney wrote in his ruling, forcing a woman to carry an unwanted, not yet viable fetus to term violates her constitutional rights to liberty and privacy, even taking into consideration whatever bundle of rights the not yet viable fetus may have. It is not for a legislator, a judge, or a commander from The Handmaid's Tale to tell these women what to do with their bodies during this period when the fetus cannot survive outside the womb any more so than society could or should force them to serve as a human tissue bank or give up a kidney for the benefit of another, the judge said. It is generally men who promote and defend laws like the Life Act, the effect of which is to require only women, and given the socioeconomic and demographic evidence presented at trial, primarily poor women, which means in Georgia, primarily black and brown women, to engage in compulsory labor, i.e. the carrying of a pregnancy to term at the government's behest, McBurney added. So that was stricken down in Georgia. Meanwhile, in California, they're barring cities from implementing voter ID requirements. This is from KTLA 5 in Los Angeles. Governor Gavin Newsom has taken aim at Huntington Beach, that's Orange County, with a new law that prevents the governing body overseeing elections in California from requiring voter identification at the polls. In March, voters in the beachside city approved a measure requiring residents to show valid identification when casting a ballot. The measure, which impacts city elections, is expected to go into effect 2026. In April, California Attorney General Rob Bonta and California Secretary of State Shirley Weber filed a lawsuit against Huntington Beach, claiming the voter-approved measure unlawfully conflicts with and is preempted by state law. Oh, hey, I'm sorry, Kate. I meant to say good morning to you, dear. You were asking about Rocktober earlier, and I said, well, yeah, it's October, because October rocks. State election law already contains robust voter ID requirements with strong protections to prevent voter fraud, while ensuring that every eligible voter can cast their ballot without hardship. Imposing unnecessary obstacles to voter participation disproportionately burdens low-income voters, voters of color, young or elderly voters, and people with disabilities, Bonta previously said in a statement. The new law, SB 1174, was introduced by State Senator David Min, a Democrat out of Irvine. We cannot have 100 different charter cities making up 100 different sets of voting rules based on fringe conspiracy theories, Min told the LA Times. Huntington Beach City Attorney Michael Gates has argued that the city's charter city status allows it to regulate local elections as it sees fit. The Times reported, however, the new law states that it will apply to all cities, including charter cities. As for voter ID, I know people may have differing opinions on that, but here's the deal. If you want to vote, you can't be forced to pay to vote. That's what they call a poll tax, and poll taxes are as illegal as hell. And you say, well, it's an ID, it's not a poll tax. Well, you have to pay for the ID. The ID that you get is not free. You have to pay for that. So if you want to vote, you have to have that ID. And if you have to have that ID, you have to pay for it. So, take that as you will. I'm not a big fan of these, unless they say, okay, we're going to give you your ID for free. Come in, do all the paperwork you normally do, but instead of paying whatever, you get your ID for free. So the only thing it costs you is a little bit of time. I get a little bit of heartburn, too, right on top of all this stuff. What a morning. Meanwhile, Hurricane Helene, people are still picking up the pieces from that major storm as a massive search and rescue operation is taking place. Look at all that. My goodness. Crews have airlifted emergency food and water into remote North Carolina towns that were cut off and devastated as Tropical Storm Helene turned the western part of the state into a post-apocalyptic landscape. A hurricane, when it slammed into the Florida Gulf Coast on Thursday, Helene tore a destructive path through southeastern United States, ripping up roads, tossing homes about, and severing lines of communication. The storm killed more than 140 people in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, and Virginia. The death toll is expected to rise once rescue teams reach isolated towns and emergency telecommunications assets come online. Throughout North Carolina, some 300 roads were closed. More than 7,000 people have registered for U.S. Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, assistance. And the National Guard was flying 1,000 tons of food and water to remote areas by plane and helicopter. That's according to officials in a news briefing. Among the demolished towns was the tiny hamlet of Bat Cave. Oh, no. Holy hurricanes, Batman. About 100 miles west of Charlotte, where the Broad River, in what climate scientists called a 1,000-year event. You've noticed that we seem to be getting a lot of 100-year event, 1,000-year events all at the same time. Rose to unprecedented levels, washed away homes, and broke through the town bridge. And, you know, of course, Sleepy Joe, reportedly asleep with 130 dead, now 140 dead from Hurricane Helene. So what did he do? I gotta get my nap. White House angrily refuted claims about being slow to respond to the recent devastating storm that claimed the lives of now 140 people on Monday, a topic further challenging the upcoming U.S. election campaign, with hundreds still unaccounted for across several southeastern United States and the death toll rising. Joe Biden's decision to travel to storm-ravaged North Carolina on Wednesday seems more like a political move than a genuine effort to monitor rescue efforts. Kind of like Bush flying over New Orleans for Katrina. In a divisive twist, Biden accused former President Donald Trump of spreading lies after Trump claimed the federal government was neglecting the disaster caused by Hurricane Helene and denying aid to his supporters. He's lying, Biden told his reporters in the Oval Office, adding that he had spoken to North Carolina Governor Ray Cooper, and he told him he's lying. I don't know why he does it. That's simply not true, and it's irresponsible. On CNN, Cooper, a Democrat, said when asked about Trump's accusations of Republican victims being ignored, it makes no difference who you are. If you need help, we're going to provide it, explaining, and if there is ever a time where we all need to come together and put politics aside, it's now. And there we go. At least 140 now lost their lives due to the storm and subsequent flooding, with 57, probably more in North Carolina, 29 South Carolina, 25 in Georgia, 14 in Florida, 4 in Tennessee, and 1 in Virginia, according to local authorities and media reports compiled by AFP. So, yeah, of course, they're too busy worrying about their besties over in the Middle East, you know, all this death and destruction here, but you know, we have an ironclad commitment to these genocidal maniacs. So Iran said, fuck your genocidal maniacs. Iran launches wave of missiles at Israel, and it looks like those look like scratches on the screen, but those are missiles. Those are Iranian missiles coming in. Iran launched a wave of missiles at Israel yesterday, hours after Israeli forces said they had launched a ground offensive in southern Lebanon. More on that later. Sounds of explosions were heard in the cities of Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, and sirens all over the country have been blaring. During the attack, the Israeli military instructed Israeli citizens to head to protected areas and bomb shelters. Israel media said around 200 rockets and missiles were fired from Iran towards Israel, with several directly hitting Israeli cities. An Iranian statement said it had sent tens of missiles, tens of missiles. At one point, I think they said like either 300 or 400 missiles they sent. Following the attack, Israeli military spokesperson Daniel Hagari said the army was not aware of any injuries and added that Israelis could leave their shelters. And this was funny. There was video of Bibi and the gang running along, trying to get through the little bunkers. The attack comes several days after Israel killed Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah in a massive strike on northern Beirut, and comes amid Israeli cross-border raids into Lebanon. Israel, Iraq, and Jordan have all closed their airspaces following Iran's strikes, with Israel reopening its airspace hours later. Pictures and videos show the skies of Tel Aviv being lit up with rocket fire, and videos appear to show some missiles making direct hits. Smoke available. So there you go. You see that. Pew, 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 pew. Just raining down. The IRGC, is Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, said in a statement that Tehran launched tens of missiles toward Israel, adding that the missile attack was in response to Israel's killing of Nasrallah and IRGC Commander Abbas Nilforoshan in Beirut, as well as Israel's killing of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran in July. A senior Iranian official told Reuters that Tehran alerted the U.S. through diplomatic channels shortly before the attack took place. Yeah. So Yemen gets in on the fun too. So Yemen hits targets deep inside Israel with Quds 5 cruise missiles. Yemen's armed forces hit military posts deep inside Israel with 3 winged Quds 5 cruise missiles. Military spokesperson Yahya Saree said today the missiles successfully reached their targets while the enemy remained silent about the results of the operation. Saree stated, "We will not hesitate in broadening our military operations against the Israeli enemy and who is behind it until the aggression against Gaza and Lebanon ends," Saree added. The Israeli military has not commented on those strikes. The strikes come hours after Iran launched their massive wave of 180 ballistic missiles at Israel military and intelligence bases overnight in response to Israel's massive bombing and assassination campaign. So yes, Yemen, we told you about, they have long-range missiles now, and they're using them. But Israel vows new attack on Iran as politicians clamor for revenge. Revenge. They were just defending themselves, isn't that the thing? Israeli officials are beating the war drums against Iran after Tehran launched a large unprecedented missile barrage on sites throughout the state. Israel's cabinet has yet to decide on the timing and nature of the response, but Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed that his government will retaliate. Iran made a big mistake tonight, and it will pay for it. He almost sounds like Bernie, but he's from Baltimore. He said in a recorded video following the attack, "The regime in Iran does not understand our determination to defend ourselves and our determination to retaliate against our enemies. They will understand. We will stand by the rule we establish. Whoever attacks us, we will attack him," he added. National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir urged Netanyahu to launch a military campaign against Iran, similar to what it did in Lebanon. "What we did to Lebanon must also be done to Iran. No political arrangements, no diplomacy. Crush, crush, crush," he said. Elsewhere, former Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett said that now is a historic moment to attack Iran. Israel has its greatest opportunity in 50 years to change the face of the Middle East, he wrote on the tweeters. "We must act now to destroy Iran's nuclear program, its central energy facilities, and to fatally cripple this terrorist regime." Knesset member Avigdor Lieberman issued similar statements calling for an immediate attack on Iran. "Bomb all the oil, gas, and nuclear facilities and destroy the refineries and dams." But I thought self-defense, right? How you defending yourselves against, like, genocide? Iran said the attack involved dozens of missiles. We already said that. Yeah, so they're going to make things worse. Basically, Iran said, look, we're done for now, but, you keep poking the bear, shit's going to happen. What's up, Desert Man? It's good to see you, brother. And that's what's going around. That's right. F around and find out. That's right, Rick. That's what they're doing. They found out yesterday. It turns out the Mossad headquarters is in a heavily civilian populated area, too. So Israel had known for using human shields. They were using Palestinians. Now I guess they're using their own people. Okay. And of course, the United States, who loves sucking that Israeli dick, U.S. will ensure Iran faces severe consequences for attacking Israel. U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said yesterday that the U.S. would work with Israel to ensure Iran faces severe consequences for launching a missile attack on Israel, which came in response to recent Israeli escalations. There will be severe consequences for this attack, and we will work with Israel to make that the case, Sullivan told reporters at the White House. President Biden said the U.S. was in active discussions with Israel on what the response would be. The United States is fully supportive of Israel, he said, but he was not really understood very well until he took the cock out of his mouth. Media reports said Iran fired at least 180 missiles at Israel, and the IRGC has claimed that 90% of the missiles hit their targets, while Israel claimed most were intercepted. The videos you saw yesterday say otherwise. They got the shit bombed out of them yesterday, and the Iron Dome is just trash. Sorry, it is, and it's all talk now, and I think Iran and all these other countries around there are starting to figure it out that they will be fucked. So there was other stories too that said the U.S. and I think the U.K. Had intercepted some of the missiles. Jordan intercepted some that went into their airspace as well. So, this thing's hot. It's going to get hotter. It's, so stay tuned, I guess, if you want to see more. Meanwhile, Israel's not done fucking with Gaza. Deadliest morning in weeks amid fresh Israeli assault. The past day has seen a series of fresh Israeli assaults on Gaza as the world's focus turns to Lebanon and the Iranian missile attack on Israel. At least 79 Palestinians were killed in the Gaza Strip early this morning, according to medical sources, making it one of the deadliest mornings in the besieged enclave in weeks. The Palestinian Health Ministry has said that the death toll of Palestinians since the start of Israel's offensive last October 7th, which we're coming up on the anniversary next week, has risen to 41,689, with more than 96,625 wounded and at least 10,000 missing who are presumed dead. Those killed included at least 16,800 children, 11,400 women, around 1,000 health workers, 174 journalists, and 220 UN workers. On Wednesday morning, Israeli strikes on an orphanage and a school turned shelter in Gaza City killed at least 25 people, including children, according to Palestinian media. The attacks targeted the Masta school in the Tufa district and Al Amal orphanage in the Ramal neighborhood. Besides those attacks, over the past day, at least 25 people have been killed in central Gaza, 25 in the north, according to hospitals that received the bodies. The Lebanese army, though, in talking about that invasion of Israel into Lebanon, they confirmed no Israeli troops entered Lebanon. No Israeli troops have crossed the border into Lebanon. The Lebanese army and UN peacekeepers confirmed yesterday, following Israel's claims its troops had begun a limited ground invasion the night before. At the moment, there are no incursions by the Israeli Defense Forces into southern Lebanon. There were intermittent incursions last night, but they have returned to normal, so the Israeli forces are not inside Lebanese territory at the moment, UNIFIL spokesman Andrea Tenedis told Sputnik. Yesterday, we received information from the Israeli Defense Forces about its intention to carry out incursions into Lebanese territory without specifying where and when, so we are aware of this information. They talked about limited incursions. So far, there have been no incursions into the country, but we are in our positions. We have not left our positions. We have not abandoned them, and we continue to work on the ground. The security and safety of our forces is of utmost importance, and it is also the responsibility of both parties, he added. AFP reported that a Lebanon army source says no Israeli ground incursion has been observed. Also on Tuesday, Israeli army spokesman Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari said Israeli troops will not be entering Beirut or any major cities in Lebanon, and that Israel's alleged ground operation will be as brief as possible. Yeah, it's probably going to be a little briefer now since they got the shit bombed out of them yesterday. And of course, Israel, being the evil motherfuckers that they are, again accused of illegally using white phosphorus in Lebanon. Israeli forces were accused yesterday of the war crime of firing white phosphorus artillery munitions over populated areas of southern Lebanon as Israel escalates an assault on its northern neighbor that has killed or wounded thousands of people. Video footage published on social media and reported by Middle East Eye shows distinctive explosions that appear consistent with the use of white phosphorus rounds over civilian areas of southern Lebanon, including the village of Kfar Kila. While white phosphorus munitions are not completely prohibited under international law, their use in populated areas is forbidden. White phosphorus rounds are primarily used to create smoke screens. However, when used as an incendiary weapon, white phosphorus, which ignites on contact with air and burns at nearly 1,500 degrees Fahrenheit, can maim and kill by burning flesh straight through to the bone, often causing a slow, agonizing death. Water does not extinguish it. There have been multiple confirmed reports of Israeli forces firing white phosphorus munitions in Lebanon since the political and paramilitary group Hezbollah began attacking Israel with rockets, drones, and other weapons in solidarity with Gaza after Israel's assault on the Palestinian coastal enclave in retaliation for the Hamas-led attack on October 7th of last year. Israel is currently on trial for genocide at the International Court of Justice over its military assault of Gaza, which left more than 147,000 Palestinians dead, maimed, or missing. Israeli forces have also used white phosphorus in previous wars, including during the 2006 invasion of Lebanon and over a United Nations school during the 2008 to 2009 Operation Cast Lead invasion of Gaza. Responding to a 2013 petition to Israel's High Court of Justice filed by human rights groups, including Human Rights Watch, the Israel Defense Forces said it would no longer use white phosphorus, fingers crossed behind their back, in populated areas with very narrow exceptions that it would not disclose. U.S. forces used white phosphorus following the invasion of Iraq and elsewhere across the region during the post-9/11 so-called War on Terror. Yeah, so white phosphorus, no good at all. We talked about journalists that are dying in this war, and Syria is in the mix when it comes to that too. Israel bombs Syrian capital, killing renowned journalist. Israeli airstrikes targeted several areas in Syria's capital, Damascus, early on October 1st. That was yesterday, killing several, including a prominent Syrian journalist. About 2:05 a.m. on Tuesday morning, the Israeli enemy carried out an air aggression with military aircraft and drones from the direction of the occupied Syrian Golan, targeting a number of points in the city of Damascus, a Syrian military source told Sana. The air defense forces responded to the aggression's missiles and downed some of them. The aggression led to the martyrdom of 3 civilians, the injury of 9 others, and significant damage to private property. Social media footage showed a vehicle engulfed in flames in the Meza area, one of the locations hit in the attack. Firefighters were dispatched to the scene. Among those killed was prominent television anchor Safa Ahmad. The General Authority for Radio and Television in Syria said in a statement that it mourns anchor Safa Ahmad, who was martyred in the Israeli aggression on the capital, Damascus. Just days ago, Israel targeted the Wadi Hana neighborhood in the city of Qusair, in western Syria. The attacks on Syria come as Israel is waging a massive and deadly campaign of airstrikes across Lebanon and getting the shit knocked out of them by Iran in the process. Oh, to be in Israel right now. I imagine those people are scared out of their minds, propagandized to the hilt for all of their lives, thinking that it's okay to bomb and murder their Palestinian counterparts, and now they're getting a little taste of it, and they're still going to call for it. Meanwhile, one of the NATO members is calling for use of force against Israel. Look at that. The UN should approve the use of armed force to stop Israel's war in Gaza, according to Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, who said that on Monday. He sharply criticized the Israeli operation in the Palestinian enclave and the ongoing airstrikes in Lebanon. Almost 1 million Lebanese civilians have been displaced due to Israeli attacks, Erdogan said after a cabinet meeting in Ankara. At least 1,300 people have been killed in just over a week, according to the Lebanese authorities. Standing up for Palestine and Lebanon means standing up for humanity, for peace, for the culture of coexistence of different faiths, the Turkish leader said. The 1950 resolution states that if the UN Security Council fails to maintain international peace, the organization can recommend collective measures up to the use of armed force. Erdogan accused a handful of radical Zionist extremists of setting the region and the whole world on fire. The international community and the Islamic world should take action for the peace of everyone in our region, Muslims, Jews, and Christians alike, he urged. Turkey severed trade ties with Israel earlier this year, promising to continue the boycott until the flow of humanitarian aid into Gaza is fully restored. Ankara also joined South Africa's ongoing case against Israel in the International Court of Justice, which accuses the Jewish state of committing genocide against Palestinians in Gaza. Washington, the people in Washington are saying they want to de-escalate, but behind the scenes, wait, what's up, Steve? Good to see you. And global solidarity too. Good to see all you folks. So yeah, that's what they do. They lie to all of us. So Washington quietly gave Israel green light to expand the war against Lebanon. Top White House officials gave Israel their support to expand the war against Lebanon in private talks, despite public comments from President Joe Biden, whenever he's awake, claiming he opposed an Israeli ground invasion of South Lebanon. According to several U.S. and Israeli officials who spoke with Politico, presidential advisor Amos Hochstein and Brett McGurk, the White House coordinator for West Asia, told Israeli leaders in recent weeks that Washington, quote, agreed with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's broad strategy to shift Israel's military focus to the north against Hezbollah. Their aim reportedly was to, quote, convince the Lebanese resistance to stop acting as a support front for the Palestinian resistance in Gaza. From the start of the conflict on October 8th, Hezbollah leaders have maintained that the group would continue targeting military positions in northern Israel until a comprehensive ceasefire is implemented in Gaza. However, Israel's intransigence and last-minute demands have continuously sabotaged every attempt to stop the genocide of Palestinians in the Strip. As a result of this, in mid-September, Hochstein and McGurk relayed to their Israeli counterparts that, while they still urged a cautious approach, the timing was likely opportune for expanding the war in Lebanon. Shh, don't tell nobody secret. On Monday night, Israel launched what it described as a limited ground invasion of South Lebanon, allegedly sparking heavy cross-border clashes with the Lebanese resistance. Despite the Israeli claims, however, no troops have entered Lebanese land as of Tuesday morning. So yeah, of course, the United States in cahoots, right? There's I'm gonna put it in the links when I get done with the show. I watched this very in-depth history of Israel and how the United States was involved in its creation from this content creator GDF. I don't know if you've ever heard of that person or organization, but we will. I'll put that in the. I'll put that in the links once I post those up this morning. We have a lot of links, so in lieu of putting all the links in the YouTube description, it's we'll have a Google Drive with the with a list of with a document with a list of all the links. It's a lot of stories today. Anonymous Moose. What's up, buddy? Good to see you. Iraq's on high alert, as they should be, in anticipation of Israeli attacks on Iran-backed militias. So tensions are spreading across the Middle East following the assassination of Hezbollah Secretary General Hassan Nasrallah by Israeli forces in Beirut last Friday. The Iraqi army, alongside Iran-backed militias, is now on high alert as concerns grow that Israel may expand its military operations into Iraq. A critical meeting is anticipated at the residence of Grand Shia cleric Ayatollah Ali al-Sistani in Najaf, where Iraqi factions will gather to discuss how to manage the situation and potentially reduce tensions. Sardar Abdullah, a Kurdish politician, commented on the broader implication of the recent developments, stating to the New Arab in an exclusive interview, "In a situation like this, it is normal for the Iraqi army or the Iran-backed militias to be on alert. But they should understand that Israel's cabinet has already prepared for a land invasion of southern Lebanon, and Netanyahu's government sees a golden opportunity to eliminate threats, particularly with only 5 weeks left until the U.S. presidential elections." According to Abdullah, Israel intends to pressure the Biden administration into fully supporting its actions should the U.S. fail to back Israel. The U.S. fail to back Israel. Yo, they got jokes. It could harm the Democratic Party's chances in the upcoming election, potentially opening the door for Donald Trump's return to the White House. In Iraq, the stakes are high. Al-Sistani's meeting, which includes key leaders from various Iraqi militias, is seen as crucial. Abdullah emphasized that al-Sistani has always prioritized the country's best interests. His fatwa during the ISIS crisis, that sounds like an 80s band name, calling for jihad, shows his ability to make tough decisions when Iraq's security is threatened. If this meeting proceeds, it could ease tensions as the militias typically follow his guidance. So yeah, you're like, wait, Iraq? How's Iraq getting into the mix? Yeah. So They've claimed too. They're like, look, if this turns into a war, we're getting up in it too. So, but Iran and Hezbollah, they've been having troubles with infiltration in their ranks as far as like spies are concerned. And Iran's former president has admitted as such. Former President Ahmadinejad claims that Iran's anti-Israel intel unit infiltrated by Mossad. There he is right there, the former president. Peace out, home slice. The killing of Hezbollah head Hassan Nasrallah has sparked questions about how Israel could suddenly locate leading figures within the Lebanese movement after years of searching, with suspicions falling on Iran's intelligence. Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, I'm glad he's not the president anymore. I have to say that name a bunch. Who served as Iran's president between 2005 and 2013, believes his country's intelligence services could have been infiltrated by Israeli agents from the very top, with secret information passed on to the Israeli government. This included an intelligence unit dedicated to rooting out Israeli spies in Iran following attacks on nuclear scientists and facilities. Israel organized complex operations inside Iran. They could quickly obtain information, the former hardline president told CNN Turk. In Iran, they are still silent about this. The man who was in charge of the unit in Iran against Israel was an Israeli agent. He claimed that another 20 Israeli intelligence assets were in the force, passing on information about Iran's nuclear program. This came after rumors Israel might have penetrated Iranian or Syrian security to discover the location of top Hezbollah commanders. While there is no proof to back Ahmadinejad's comments, and the president has a history of making outlandish comments and claims, Israel appears to have scored a massive intelligence bonanza by taking out Nasrallah and other Hezbollah leaders, though at the cost of massive civilian casualties. Nasrallah was known to keep his movement strictly secret for decades, and Israel failed to assassinate him during the 2006 war. Other Hezbollah commanders killed in Israeli airstrikes include Ibrahim Akil, Nabil Koak, and Ahmad Webi, while senior Hamas figures such as Saleh al-Aruri and Ismail Haniyeh have also been taken out in strikes, the latter in the relative safety of Tehran. So yeah, especially they were talking about that with the pagers and all the electronic stuff blowing up too, that they had a hand in that as well. Worldwide, everybody's taking a look at this and at the situation over there, and Indonesia is not excluded from that group. Indonesian Islamic leader urges continuous boycott against companies over Israel-Gaza war. The call by Chalil Nafis, chairman of the Indonesian Council of Ulema, comes as the war in Gaza nears its 1-year mark. Indonesia's main Islamic scholar body has urged citizens to keep up the fight for Palestinian independence by continuing to boycott products over their perceived links to Israel as the war in Gaza nears its one-year mark. Nafis, chairman of the Indonesian Council of Ulema, called on Indonesians to never stop the boycott movement because the genocide has not stopped either. We help Palestine according to our respective abilities. This is a matter of our common humanity, and we must not remain silent, Chalil said in a statement on Monday. So, yeah. And, of course, those boycotts are going on here. I think the United States passed some sort of law or something saying that like products from Palestinian areas are considered to be Israeli. So that's to in order to skirt the BDS there, the boycott, divestment and sanctions. So yeah, that's your Middies wrap up for right now. Holy smokes. And it's probably just going to get worse. I mean, let's be real. You know, we're not here to sugarcoat shit. Meanwhile, China is dealing with their own shit over in the South China Sea. PLA stages National Day drill in South China Sea in wake of five-nation exercise. So China conducted a naval drill in the South China Seas this week, days after its top diplomat Wang Yi accused the United States of stirring up trouble in the disputed waterway. People's Liberation Army. Oh, I didn't know this was paid. What the hell? Paid? I guess didn't read that far. The People's Liberation Army drill, which coincided with China's National Day, following an exercise involving the U.S., the Philippines, Australia, Japan, and New Zealand that began on Saturday. And basically what that is they're doing these maneuvers in the Taiwan Strait and in the South China Sea, basically to just piss off the Chinese. The United States is warmongering to the hilt, and have not seen a war that they didn't like to get involved with, because the military-industrial complex needs to, you know, they got to get fed too, right? And that's the way you do it. So a war in the South Pacific with China, and a war in the Middle East, and of course the war going on between Ukraine and Russia. Well, you know, that costs money, and weapons cost money as well. Yeah, like a soap opera, but all the characters die. It really is. There is a lot of posturing and stuff like that. Hey, Kim, good to see you. Good morning to you as well. It's a nice 61 degrees over here in Chicago. So the chilly season is coming. Cold weather and delicious put in your belly chili. Delicious. Speaking of war, World War II apparently didn't end in Japan. Japanese airport shut after suspected World War II bomb explodes near the runway. A regional airport in southwest Japan was closed Wednesday. That's there. It's already like almost Thursday there. It might be in Japan by now. After a U.S. bombshell, a literal U.S. bombshell, likely dropped during World War II to stem kamikaze attacks, exploded near its runway, causing nearly 90 flights canceled. Miyazaki Airport shut its runway after the explosion caused a crater about 23 feet wide and about 3.5 feet deep in the middle of the taxiway next to the runway, according to a Japanese Transport Ministry official. A bomb disposal team from the Japan Ground Self-Defense Force later found that the cause of the explosion was an American bomb that had been buried beneath the land surface, probably dating to a wartime air raid, the official said. No injuries were reported, but live cam footage showed an airplane had been taxiing nearby just 2 minutes before the explosion, according to local broadcaster MRT. The runway shutdown has led to the grounding of 87 flights, but there's no danger of any further explosions, unless there's more buried under there. And repair works to fill the hole should be completed by tomorrow morning, said Japan's top government spokesperson, Yoshimasa Hayashi. So, and I don't know if you've ever heard this story about the The nuclear bomb off the coast of North Carolina they can't find. Yeah, apparently one fell off a plane during World War II and splashed into the ocean and is somewhere out there. A nuke. Not like a regular ass bomb. It's a nuke. Yeah, so it's a crazy world we live in. Just be careful out there, folks. Meanwhile, political prisoners in Egypt are having a time, and one committed attempted to commit suicide over a prolonged detention without a fair trial. And that's what you're seeing a lot of too, not just overseas, but here in the United States. People, you can go to Guantanamo Bay with no charges, just if you're just even accused of being a terrorist. That's how things are these days. An Egyptian political prisoner attempted suicide over the weekend by jumping off the 8th floor in northern Sharqiya province to protest against his prolonged detention without standing a fair trial, sparking concerns over inhumane conditions at Egypt's detention centers. Ahmed Mohammed Ibrahim Abdel Aziz has been detained for nearly 7 years without trial, though pre-trial detention cannot legally exceed a maximum of 24 months. I'm no math scholar, but 7 years is more than 24 months. The Egyptian Network for Human Rights said in a statement on Monday, Abdelaziz's detention was nevertheless renewed for 15 days on Sunday, prompting him to attempt to jump off the 8th floor of the local prosecution office building, but security personnel inside the room managed to stop him just in time. According to the rights group, the detainee reportedly attempted to kill himself twice before, as a result of the abuse and emotional distress he had been facing in detention, as no medical or psychiatric assessment has been provided to assess his mental state. Abdelaziz, who holds a university degree in Islamic studies from Al-Azhar University, has first been detained almost 7 years ago and has never stood trial since, the group said. And I know some more news from yesterday of another detainee who was held basically without charges and is now free, is Julian Assange. And he actually spoke for the first time yesterday in public. So Julian Assange, WikiLeaks founder, speaks in his first appearance since his release from prison. So Julian Assange is back on European soil, where when last here he was behind bars. Yesterday he gave evidence about his years of incarceration in a high-security UK prison after the United States charged him under the Espionage Act, even though he's not a resident of the United States. It was his first public appearance since being released from prison and returning to Australia. In an at times scathing address, he criticized the United States and its allies in their handling of the case. He says, "I'm not here today because the system worked. I'm free today after years of incarceration because I pleaded guilty to journalism," Assange told Europe's leading human rights organization, the Parliamentary Assembly of Council of Europe, PACE, at Strasbourg, France, which is investigating his detention and conviction. The appearance of the WikiLeaks founder at PACE was a tightly controlled affair. International media faced extensive restrictions, and Assange did not give interviews. Assange told the ABC, that's the Australian broadcasting company, ahead of the hearing he was pleased to be there, flanked by his wife Stella and the WikiLeaks editor-in-chief, Kristen Hrafnsson. Assange said legal protections only existed on paper. "I eventually chose freedom over unreasonable justice after being detained for years with no effective remedy," he said. "Justice for me is now precluded because the U.S. government insisted that I cannot file in the European Court of Human Rights or a Freedom of Information request." Speaking of his 5 years in a UK prison, Assange said it was a relentless struggle to stay alive physically and mentally. It strips away one's sense of self, he said. Isolation has taken its toll. And I'll have the, once I post it after the show, I'll have the link to his entire speech in the comments below, as well as the links to the show. So yeah, that's where we're at in 2024 with people getting arrested. It's scary times, and it's intended to shut people up. It's intended to keep them quiet, so you don't speak out. And the brave ones who do, unfortunately, end up being silenced in one way or another. Meanwhile, in Tunisia, one of the presidential candidates got some jail time. Presidential candidate Zamel receives a 12-year prison sentence. Tunisian politician Ayachi Zamel, a candidate in the presidential election scheduled for October 6, has been jailed for 12 years, according to his lawyer. The court in Tunis sentenced Zamel to 12 years in prison in 4 cases for charges related to forging voter endorsements, 3 years for each use, and banned him from voting. His lawyer, Abdesader Massaudi, told AFP on Tuesday. Zamel remains a candidate in the election, however, on Sunday, his lawyer added. So even though he's going to be in prison, he could still be president. They were talking about that with Trump. Last Wednesday, Zamel was sentenced to 6 months in prison by the Gendouba court for falsification of documents, a sentence that was added to a previous sentence of 20 months in prison for the same charges by the same court on September 18th. A total of 37 separate prosecutions have been launched against him in all the governorates of Tunisia for similar reasons, according to Massoudi. Not quite the 120 counts of that the diddler has against him, but everybody loves a competition. Meanwhile, in Benin, I believe that's in Africa, I believe. I'm not quite sure. They thwarted a coup plot there. Top military commander was arrested. Benin's prosecutors announced yesterday, today, the arrest of 3 prominent individuals, including a commander of the Presidential Guard, on suspicions of plotting a coup d'etat, or some people say a coup d'etat, in the small West African nation. The other 2 suspects in the alleged coup attempt are a former sports minister and a businessman closely associated with President Patrice Talon. Alam Mario Metonu, the special prosecutor at Benin's court for financial crimes and terrorism, revealed that the coup was scheduled for execution this Friday. It appears the Republican Guard commander in charge of the president's security was engaged by the minister Oswald Homeke and Oliver Boko in order to carry out a coup by force on September 27th this year, the prosecutor said. According to the court, Homeke was detained around 1 a.m. on Tuesday while handing over 6 bags of cash totaling 1.5 billion West African CFA francs. That's 2.5 million American to the commander, Jaiman Diadon, that guy. You saw that thing. Hello. The poor in this world are often left by the wayside, right? Especially here in the United States. But, we look over to our neighbors in Africa, too, as they are dealing with measures against them. Nigerians decry anti-poor measures in new protests against the government. Ilorin and this is in Nigeria. For the second time in 2 months, angry protesters in several cities across Nigeria are trooping out to denounce biting economic hardship in the West African country and to call for change. In the capital, Abuja, yesterday, police fired tear gas canisters into crowds of demonstrators as they marched and screamed chants of "No more hunger" and "End bad governance." In the first wave of protests in August, several people were shot dead and hundreds more were arrested. Yet this time, despite fears of another crackdown as police deployed heavily to potential protest locations nationwide, demonstrators were determined to be heard. The ordinary people are suffering, but this government doesn't care because they cannot feel the pulse of the ordinary people. That sounds like something people would say here. Juan Sanyoli, leader of the Take It Back movement and an advocacy organization at the forefront of the protests, told Al Jazeera from Abuja. Organizers timed Tuesday's demonstrations to coincide with the country's 64th Independence Day celebrations, marking Nigeria's freedom from former colonial ruler Britain in 1960. However, many say there's very little to celebrate when large numbers of the 200 million population struggle to survive while government officials are living large. Tagged hashtag fearless in October, the protests demands were for the government to end hunger by discarding fiscal measures recommended by the World Bank that have led to higher fuel prices, measures the activists called anti-poor. Exactly. A lot of things anti-poor. And that's why you strike, right? I mean, I know it's not just poor people who are striking, but what else are you going to do? You don't have the arms to take up against your government. Some people do, but not enough. And even if you did, what would happen? But if you take away your labor, shit gets shut down. So my heart goes out to those folks over there, because the poor, that's a worldwide thing. That's everyone around the world is dealing with, like, austerity measures. Meanwhile, the people get the shaft while the people in charge are living high on the hog, and that definitely needs to change. And Haiti's no different either. Thousands of Haitians face starvation as hunger reaches famine levels there. Some 6,000 people in Haiti are starving, with nearly half the population experiencing crisis levels of hunger as gang violence smothers life in the capital of Port-au-Prince and beyond, according to a new report released on Monday. The family of Jean Yanel and Hyacinth Monami, along with their 7 children, barely have enough for one meal a day, which usually consists of just rice or pasta. Yanel fled his home with his family after gangs raided their neighborhood. The food that would normally feed only one person has to feed 10 people. We only get enough nourishment for us not to die, said Yanel. Yanel used to work as a mason, but with construction jobs drying up, he's now forced to search for wood to make charcoal. His wife sells secondhand clothes. On days when they can't afford a proper meal for their children, she mixes flour with spinach to keep their stomachs from rumbling. Despite the arrival of almost 500 policemen in Haiti over the last few months to reinforce the national police and combat the gangs, most of the country's capital remains unsafe. The streets are littered with trash and barricades with burned down vehicles, remnants of the latest gang activity. From April to June, at least 1,379 people were reported killed or injured and another 428 kidnapped. In addition, gang violence has left more than 700,000 people homeless in recent years. According to the report, IPC, Integrated Food Security Phase Classification, released on Monday, Haiti is facing the highest levels of food insecurity on record. After years of deterioration, 5.4 million people, that's 48% of the analyzed population, are in urgent need of assistance, of which 2 million are in emergency conditions, representing a 42% increase since last year's analysis. An additional 600,000 people, said the report. While much of the hunger is directly tied to gang violence, double-digit inflation, greedy corporations, has also limited what many Haitians can afford to buy, with food now representing 70% of total household expenditures. The cost of a food basket increased more than 11% in the past year, with inflation hitting 30% in July. A few shelters in the city are overcrowded with families that were forced to leave their homes in areas where there was heavy gunfire as gangs fought for territory. The 6,000 internally displaced people in the shelters are entirely reliant on food donated by the World Food Program and other NGOs and are facing a catastrophic level of food insecurity. This is the first occurrence since September 2022 and only the second time in the region's history. Yeah, the world's going to shit, y'all. And the people who are in charge, they don't give a fuck. Let's keep it real, right? We all know this. A little bit of good news south of the border, though. AMLO has served his terms as president, and now a little bit of history for Mexico, as Claudia Sheinbaum is sworn in as Mexico's first female president. There she is right there. Sheinbaum took over from outgoing president and close Moreno party ally Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, AMLO, not to be confused with Amway, the pyramid scheme where you sell products and get other people to sell it for you. At an inauguration ceremony in the country's Congress yesterday, the 62-year-old climate scientist, wait, she's 62? Look at her. She does not look 62. Good on you, girl. You must be eating right. The former climate scientist and mayor of Mexico City is set to serve a 6-year term ending in 2030. Sheinbaum took the oath of office in front of parliamentarians as her supporters chanted, President, President, and long live Mexico. But probably, I was assuming, in Spanish. So, Presidente, Presidente, and Viva la Mexico. Now is the time of transformation. Now is the time of women, Sheinbaum said. She enters office with her party holding supermajority control in the legislature's lower house and nearly the same in the Senate, and immediately sought to reassure investors, saying that investments will be safe in Mexico. Of course, gotta have a little history, but we gotta make sure, don't want your money safe. And finally, in our news block, a little bit of history here in the United States with one of our former presidents. Jimmy Carter turned 100 yesterday, 100 years old. He celebrated his 100th birthday, the first ever U.S. president to reach the century mark, and another extraordinary milestone for the one-time peanut farmer who found his way to the White House. Carter's longevity, he began hospice care at his home in Plains, Georgia more than 19 months ago, has defied all expectations. No longer regularly appearing in public, the Democratic ex-president will spend his birthday in the home he and his late wife Rosalind had built in Plains in the 1960s. It will include a lunch with some 20 members of extended family, according to the Atlanta Journal. I'm sure that was fun. Joe Biden woke up from his nap and called him beloved friend, most influential statesman, blah, 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 blah. So Jimmy Carter turning 100 years old yesterday. First one to do it. And it's no surprise either. He's had healthcare from, free healthcare from the United States his entire since he's been since he was president. So good on him, I guess. He's been in hospice almost 2 years now. Oh, Presidenta, Rick, thank you. Lo siento. My mistake. I always like to get that right. Presidente is for the dudes. So last night, I hate doing like political stories on here, so I always throw them into this little category. It was the vice presidential debate last night, and basically it was just like the presidential debate where they were having a contest to see how hard they could suck Israel's dick. Of course, some bullshit was afoot.
The sharing of biased and
False news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media publish things they are true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use those platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Do you, Kate? You share a birthday with Jimmy Carter. I know you're not 100 years old. Stop it. So happy birthday. Oh, that's right. Happy birthday to you. I said that to you on the Facebooks yesterday. So Vance versus Waltz. 5 takeaways from the U.S. vice presidential debate from last night. It was a battle royale between 2 Midwestern politicians, both vying to be vice president of the United States. But Tuesday's debate between Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Ohio Senator J.D. Vance was overshadowed by events going on in the Middle East, where boom, 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 out go the lights, yada, yada, yada. And so Waltz said there will be consequences. There'll be consequences. He said of Iran's actions. The Republican candidate Vance, meanwhile, underscored the unwavering U.S. support for Israel. It's up to Israel what they think they need to keep their country safe, and we should support our allies wherever they are when they're fighting the bad guys. Yeah. So let me get down to where they were talking about some shit. So Iran's missile attack against Israel and Israel's warnings that Iran will pay loomed large as the lights came up for the debate. Moderator Margaret Brennan opened the proceedings with a question about what should come next. Would the candidate support Israel if it chose to launch a strike against Iran? She should have asked, are you going to put the balls in your mouth too? Or, maybe like use the pubic hairs as dental floss. She should have asked that. Walz was up first initially. The Minnesota governor appeared to stumble, repeatedly calling several policy goals fundamental. Israel's ability to defend itself is absolutely fundamental. Getting its hostages back, fundamental. And ending the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. But the expansion of Israel and its proxies is an absolute fundamental necessity for the United States to have a steady leadership there, Walt said. So if you're having a drinking contest like Willie was apparently on his show, wait, Willie, you little smoker, you would have got your liver taken out if you had bet on fundamental. What's fundamental here is that steady leadership is going to matter. Where Walz hit his stride, however, wasn't attacking Trump as a divisive, destabilizing figure. It's those who are closest to Donald Trump that understand how dangerous he is when the world is this dangerous. He further criticized Trump for pulling out, of the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action in 2018, bringing an end to a multilateral agreement that included restriction on Iran's nuclear program. When the moderators turned to Vance, the senator initially sidestepped the question, using his opening remarks to introduce himself to the audience as a child of the working class and an eater of babies. I recognize a lot of Americans don't know who either of us are. Yeah, they probably don't, but they'll vote for him anyway. As much as Governor Walz just accused Trump of being an agent of chaos, Trump actually delivered security in the world. He did it by establishing effective deterrence. People were afraid of stepping out of line, Vance said. Bullshit. Donald Trump recognized for people to fear the United States, you needed peace through strength. Peace through strength. Peace through bullshit. He had John Bolton on his staff. He wasn't going to have peace. So Vance talked about immigration. I won't go through all of this, but basically when Trump and Harris had the debate, they were talking, they're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs, the Asians. Vance had helped spread those rumors too. He later justified his actions by telling reporters, if I have to, and this is what we need to focus on here right there. Well, this part right here. If I have to create stories so that the American media actually pays attention to the suffering of the American people, then that's what I'm going to do. If I have to create stories, if I gotta lie to get you to listen, motherfuckers. Walz attacked Vance for his role in the fear-mongering, which resulted in tensions and even bomb threats in Springfield. Talking about and saying, I will create stories to bring attention to this, that vilified a large number of people who are here legally in the community of Springfield. I guess it's, I don't know which Springfield it was. I didn't see Homer Simpson there. There are consequences for this. Consequences in Springfield, where the governor had to send state law enforcement to escort kindergartners to school. Vance avoided repeating the unfounded allegations about Haitian immigrants. He did, however, blame what he described as unchecked immigration for straining local resources. In Springfield, Ohio, and in communities all across the country, you've got schools that are overwhelmed. You got hospitals that are overwhelmed. It's because they keep closing the fucking hospitals. That's why the hospitals are overwhelmed, you dipshit. You've got housing that is totally unaffordable. Again, BlackRock buying up all these fucking places and people charging out the wazoo for rents and shit. Because we brought in millions of illegal immigrants to compete with Americans for scarce homes. You brought in, they ran from their countries because of your fucking, shit that, cooing their country's leaders and just causing all kinds of chaos in these other fucking countries like that. Their foreign policy. And this gets me to the people I am most worried about in Springfield, Ohio, are the American citizens who have had their lives destroyed by Kamala Harris's open border. Their lives have been destroyed by high prices and greed, motherfucker. And so it goes on, yada, 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 all that bullshit. That's why I don't watch the debates, because, I think they're all bullshit. It's all just lies. And the press doesn't call them. They were doing fact checks when Trump was doing his thing, and then they stopped doing the fact checks because he cried like a bitch about it. And yeah, so, but I mean, who's to blame? It's the billionaires, y'all. It's the billionaires. You're like, well, I want to be a billionaire. You're not going to be a fucking billionaire. All right. Just if you're watching this show, you're not going to be a billionaire. I'm sorry to tell you. So billionaire Zionists fuel anti-Palestine disinformation campaign. Shocking, I know. Facts for Peace is another covert initiative launched by elements of the Zionist movement, this time led by fervent Zionist billionaires. The U.S. news outlet Semaphore first reported on this campaign on November 9th last year with the headline, Billionaires Discuss $50 Million Anti-Hamas Media Blitz. Real estate billionaire Barry Sternlicht spearheaded the effort in the wake of Operation Al-Aqsa flood. In an email, Sternlicht sought $1 million contributions from several of the wealthiest individuals in the business world. He mentioned having had a great conversation about the campaign with CNN owner David Zaslav, and added that Endeavor CEO and talent agent Ari Emanuel had agreed to coordinate the effort. However, the spokespeople for both Zaslav and Emanuel have stated that neither is currently involved. We did not us. The email was sent to more than 50 prominent figures, including media mogul David Geffen, investors Michael Milken and Nelson Peltz, and tech giants Eric Schmidt and Michael Dell. Collectively, the recipient's net worth is estimated at nearly $500 billion based on data from Bloomberg and Forbes. Sternlicht stated in his email that he aimed to raise $50 million from the group, which plans to seek matching funds from a major Jewish charity. The goal was to fund a media campaign to define Hamas as not just the enemy of Israel, but of the United States. By early November, the effort had raised several $1 million, hired Josh Blasto, a former aide to Senator Chuck Schumer and Governor Andrew Cuomo, as an advisor, and quietly launched the website factsforpeace.org. Later that month, the Bureau of Investigative Journalism reported that a multi-million-dollar campaign against the pro-Palestinian movement had spent over $370,000 in viral ads on Facebook and Instagram without disclosing its financial sources. Blasto's name is notably absent from the Facts for Peace listings for ads on Facebook and Instagram, as well as the organization's website. However, reverse searches of the phone number registered in Meta's ad library trace back to Blasto, and the same number is listed for his PR firm, Bamberger and Blasto. Fulfill the Promise LLC was initially founded on September 15, 2022, then renamed Change the Narrative Coalition LLC on October 16th of last year, before becoming Facts for Peace on the same day. See, they keep lying. They can't even lie. They can't even tell the truth about the name of their fucking shit. So, meanwhile, in Ukraine, they don't want you speaking Russian. And they definitely don't want the kids saying "Dots Vidanya." Ukrainian MP wants children punished for speaking Russian. An MP Ukraine has proposed a new law preventing school children from speaking to each other in any language but Ukrainian, even outside of the classroom. Natalia Pipa, that's Spanish for pipe, by the way, claims that the mandatory use of the official language in class is not sufficient to ensure its dominance. A large proportion of Ukrainian citizens can speak or understand both Russian and Ukrainian, particularly in the east of the country. However, since the 2014 coup, the new authorities have abolished Russian as an official regional language and adopted policies aimed at its suppression. According to the government in Kiev, the language constitutes a threat to national unity and security. Russia has repeatedly denounced these steps as discrimination. Explaining the need for tougher legislation in a post on Facebook, Pipa cited complaints from parents who are unhappy that their children were being exposed to Russian in schools and kindergartens, as most of their peers communicate with each other in that language. Kind of like the parents in the United States getting all pissed off when the kids start listening to rap music. In 2021, we obliged all schools to provide educational services in the Ukrainian language, but the problem is that after leaving class, children and teachers switched to Russian, the lawmakers said. So she also cited recent research indicating that only 41% of school children in the country use solely the official language in informal settings. According to PIPA, parents should make a point of only speaking Ukrainian with their children at home. We need to get rid of this unwritten rule in the heads of teachers, pupils, and parents. The bell rings and you can speak any language, the MP stated. A survey conducted by the State Service for the Quality of Education during the 2023-2024 school year showed that there had been a drop in the use of Ukrainian language by school children, parents, and teachers. Around the same time, Commissioner for the Protection of the State Language, Taras Kremen, warned that many Ukrainian children did not know their official state language well enough because they were still using Russian in their daily lives. In 2019, the National Parliament passed a law requiring Ukrainian to be used exclusively in nearly all aspects of public life, including education, entertainment, politics, business, and the service community. Commenting on the legislation at the time, the Russian Foreign Ministry denounced it as a forced and total Ukrainianization. Right? You'll talk the way we tell you to talk. All right, bitch. Yes, and let's see. Hang on just a second here. Okay, there we go. There. So two more. We have a big propaganda watch block here. So Australia in the mix too. We talk about censorship as part of propaganda. What you're allowed to hear and what you're not allowed to say. Australia charges woman over pro-Hezbollah protests. Australian police today charged a 19-year-old woman after an investigation into Hezbollah flags flown at a Sydney demonstration. She was arrested and charged with public display of prohibited terrorist organization symbols, said New South Wales police. Other attendees at the pro-Palestine protest, which took place in Sydney and Melbourne last week, also waved Hamas flags or placards with slain Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah. The protest has divided politicians, police, and community leaders on what constitutes free speech or illegal activity. Authorities remain on high alert ahead of two planned protests this week that will mark the one-year anniversary since the Palestinian militant group Hamas flew in on like these flying things and triggered the Gaza conflict. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said Wednesday the two protests set for the 6th and the 7th should not go ahead, and that any demonstration would be seen as incredibly provocative. Provocative. It would not advance any cause. It would cause a great deal of distress, he told Australian Broadcasting Company. Albanese added he would attend a vigil instead. And finally, German police raids pro-Palestine activists' home. Germany! You did not see this coming. Germany's police have searched the houses of 5 pro-Palestine activists in Berlin in their latest move to squash dissent against Israel and the war on Gaza. On Monday, German officials said that the seized residences were located around the capital. Police and public prosecutor's office said that the 5 individuals whose houses were raided are accused of committing criminal offenses through allegedly pro-Palestinian motivated activities, such as making internet messages with anti-Semitic content. Anti-Semitic being a very vague term these days. The men who were robbed of their mobile phones, laptops, and other data storage devices range in age from 18 to 40 years old and were claimed to be suspected of instigating violence through online remarks, as well as displaying banned symbols. They are being investigated to discover the authorship of social media posts and link networks in the pro-Palestinian scene since the war on Gaza began. Yes. So it's, they're trying to tell you what to think, what to say, what to do. Keep up the good work. Keep protesting. Keep denying this bullshit. Stay strong, because the more you do it, the more others will want to join you because you're being consistent. And that's what they fear. They fear this uprising of voices of people stopping and shutting things down in the name of peace, in the name of prosperity for themselves. I mean, not just, you know, being wealthy, but just like having an actual life, you know, being, you know, while all of us are struggling, the rich get richer. And they'll do whatever it takes to hang on to their riches and to hang on to their power as well. So stay frosty, as they say, and you know, and stay consistent too. That helps. Finally, today, it's tonight somewhere, I guess. I think Moose, is it over there? I think it's afternoon, I guess, in England. I lived in New York for about 15 years, New York City particularly, and the rats there, a whole other level of nightmare fuel, right? Biggest cats. In fact, the alley cats would saddle them up and ride on top of the rats instead of trying to catch them because they knew it was futile. But one of the things they do, and I think they do that here in Chicago too, is they put a lot of poison traps out for them. But they're trying something different in New York. So New York plans to put rats on birth control. In a related story, male rats in the New York City area said, yes, no more rubbers. No, they didn't say that. And there's a look at it. I'm going to steal your pizza. I'm going to steal it. I'm probably going to run in your house and scare the fuck out of you. New York has approved a trial program to reduce the city's rat population without using poison. Starting next year, contraceptive pellets will be placed in special rat-accessible containers in different neighborhoods of the city. Proponents of this approach argue that it will humanely reduce the numbers of rats without endangering other animals or the environment. Lord knows they love a genocide in New York, even if it includes rats. If all goes to plan, rats will ingest the contraceptive, become sterilized, and in this way are prevented from reproducing. The initiative has been dubbed Flacco's Law after the owl by the same name that escaped from a city zoo last year and which was later found dead with rat poison in its system, according to local media. Well, now that's great. Now the owls are going to be sterile too, and you know, all your owls are going to be gone. We can't poison our way out of this. We cannot kill our way out of this, City Council member Sean Abro said in April when first introducing the bill. During a 12-month pilot program, inspectors will make monthly checks to see how many pellets have been consumed across different neighborhoods. During such monthly inspections of the pilot program areas, the department shall track the amount of rat contraceptive in each rat contraceptive dispenser. The provisions of the bill read, oh, yeah, poopy joke. Senestech, the company that makes the plant-based product called Contrapest, claims each dose prevents rats from reproducing for 45 days, reducing populations humanely without endangering other animals or the environment. It doesn't endanger them, but, you know, they'll be shooting blanks. New York has long been famous for its rat problem. An estimated 3 million other rodents live in the Big Apple, according to pest control firm MMPC, which based the figure on a 2014 study by Jonathan Auerbach. People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals has welcomed what it called an innovative approach to the problem, praising the city for selecting birth control over cruel, lethal methods such as poison and suffocation. Yeah, so there you go. No more rat rubbers. You won't have to go. They won't have to awkwardly go to the local CVS and, you know, timidly say, can I have some contraceptives? They'll already have them. So, hey, Teresa, good to see you. Will putting rats on birth control, wait a minute, will rats on birth control and their pee washing into the water system further sterilize our population? Asking for a friend. That's a good question. So can they pee this stuff out and then it ends up in the water system and then everybody in New York gets sterilized? Talk about good ideas gone awry. Well, we'll just have to wait and see how that happens. You start seeing a population drop in New York City, well, it might be a correlation. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. So that's it for our show today. I appreciate all of you. Don't forget tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern time, our buddy Willie Bragg in the house. We'll be talking to the Bragster. Nobody calls him that. I just called him that. Willie Bragg up in North Carolina. I'm going to see if he knows anything about what's going on with the efforts there with Helene's devastation. Also, we will revisit Pilot Mountain, a.k.a. Titty Mountain, because that story is just so funny. And it caught me off guard last time, but I'm prepared for it this time, Willie. I'm prepared for your Titty Mountain nonsense. So, should be a good one. 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on the YouTubes, also on Rockfin and Rumble. CVS, you mean the local truck stop bathroom coin-op rubber dispenser? Yeah, that's right. Those rats. I know, man. You don't want to get a rubber from a truck stop bathroom. Come on, man. It's like getting sushi from a gas station. You don't want. Why would you want to tempt fate? Of course, Around the World with Dee and Friends tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern on the YouTubes. Check that out. Make sure you're following both of those channels, as well as this one. So if you're new, if you're just lurking or whatever, and you're just checking this out, give us a like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff. We have Patreon, if you want to join that. We also have CashApp and Venmo. If you want to donate directly, that's fine too. If you don't have the cash, please just share the show out, spread the word. Word of mouth is usually the best type of advertising, especially in this case. So I'll thank all of y'all. See you tonight. Trying to think if there's anything else. I think we're in good shape. Peace out, y'all. We had a good crowd today, and hopefully that keeps up. So it was a long show. I thought we might go 2 hours, but I did some rapid speaking, and yeah, that happened. So, but still, pretty long show. Peace out, everybody. We'll see you tonight. Yeah.
This is City Alpha 5! Woo! Damn good song, wasn't it, dog? You like that song? All right.
Soon.
Fuck you, everybody. Good night!